Hey everybody, it's Austin Scott with Scott Trot, and thank you for tuning in on the 5th episode of the Paddock Party tonight. So I hope you guys are having a great Wednesday night here so far. Hopefully it's only going to get better from here. So really excited for another episode of the Paddock Party. I'm going to talk about a very cool and special guest that I have coming on the show tonight. And if you already read the description for the video, you know who it is. And if you have questions for him, make sure you comment them below, and I'll make sure to ask him at the end of the show. So before we get started and we bring him on, I usually like to let some of you guys join in and let me know what you guys are thinking. And again, if you have questions for our guest tonight, please feel free to leave them down below. So if you're watching, let me know what you're up to here on a Wednesday night. So for me, I just got back from the barns and helping Tim Ignarski here at Wapakoneta, the Auglaize County Fairgrounds, with some of his horses he has out there, which is always a lot of fun. And came home real quick, got a bite to eat, and then hopped on here. So we did a test run with our guest about 10 minutes ago, and everything was fine at that time. So we'll see if we can continue and make sure we get through this episode with no technical difficulties. If we do, we might have to cut it short here tonight and try to bring him on again next week and try to get things ironed out between now and then. So just got to write one thing down here quick. Like I said, start sending in your questions. And also, if you have suggestions on who to bring on to the show, maybe in the coming weeks, feel free to comment them below, and I'll keep count of that kind of stuff too. So it looks like we do already have some questions coming in, so that's pretty cool. We got some watchers already. Tim Ignarski tuned in and putting in some questions for Tyler. We have Stephanie Wren Edmonds watching, Olivia Bennett watching, Taylor Scott watching, Mary Jo Rini Bross, Jenny Ignarski, Tyler Smith's watching, Mike Roth. We have Tony Dale Holler tuning in. Todd Luther's watching. Todd, how are you doing? You sound like you had some pretty big news here today also. So maybe I need to have you on the show here at some point and we can talk about that big story that happened today. That's pretty cool. So congrats to you guys and best wishes as we get into this race season. Richard Cooper's also watching. That's pretty cool. Thanks for tuning in, Richard. Appreciate you spending some of your Wednesday night here with us. Good stuff. Well, cool. We already have, looks like 20 of you joined in, so I really appreciate that. And also, while you're sitting here and watching the intro to this video, feel free to share it with some of your friends that are into harness racing and may very well enjoy this. So share it with them and get them on board too. The support I've been getting here on the Paddock Party and on Scott Trot as a whole has been awesome. So you guys are great. Really appreciate you welcoming me into the harness racing community here. And I just want to continue to keep doing the show on a more consistent basis and keep bringing more and more people on. So some more people watching. Aaliyah Cahill, Kyle Trafzer, Rita Long's watching, Erica Lynn, Nicholas Turley, Roy Wilson, Vince Anthony Hanna. Thank you guys for tuning in. Just saw your question there, Tim. I got that on my list already, so that's perfect. Chris Presley, Mike Wepkenberg also tuning in. Thank you guys. I really appreciate it. So again, before we get to our guest, I want to show you guys some pretty cool stuff that I got this afternoon. So I was able to take a little bit of field trip of sorts up to Cool Winds Farms up in Lima, Ohio, there on Cool Road, and got to hang out. Thank you to Randy Haynes. Shout out to him and Cool Winds for having me up today and showing me around. So I got some pretty cool little presents I got to take with me. So I got, again, it's backwards on your guys' end, but I got Dancing Yankee Cool Winds Farms hat today. So that's pretty cool, and got to meet Dancing Yankee. So that's cool also. Cool Winds on the back of the hat. And then also, Randy gave me a sneak preview of something cool that's going to be getting sent out there of all of his stallions he has up at Cool Winds Farm. So a little bit of a postcard that's going to be getting mailed out. Again, I apologize. It's backward on your guys' end, but it has all of his stallions up there, I believe 6 of them on display on this postcard. So that's pretty cool. So we got Rockin' Amadeus, Dancing Yankee, Bring on the Beach, Mr. Apples, who's new to Cool Winds Farms. And then as for the trotters, they have Muscle Diamond, a new addition up there, and then also Coraggioso. So got to meet all 6 of them today, and each of them have unique personalities, to say the least. So that was pretty cool. We also have Brian Brown watching. Brian, how are you? Thanks for checking out the show here. I hope you're impressed with tonight's episode. So yeah, pretty cool, Cool Winds Farm stuff. So again, thanks to Randy and Kim Haynes for having me up there today. That's pretty awesome. So, and I want to get into our guest here tonight. So as I mentioned off the top, a really cool and special guest to me. I've told this story many times, but if you're somebody new joining us, I wanted to tell you my first harness race I went to was in August of 2015 at the Auglaize County Fairgrounds here in Wapak, where I'm from. And that was my very first time there. And again, it was something really cool and something I liked from the get-go. Thanks to my friend Brandon Miller for taking me out there. And when I was there that very first night for my first race, there was a horse that I kind of got attached to and became my first ever, my first ever favorite horse, which is pretty cool. So I went in 2015 and watched, and it was Artist from Above, who was trained by Tim Ignarski. Again, my first favorite horse. Just love the name pretty much. When you're first starting out, that's a lot of what draws you in is some of the cool names that are out there and stuff before you start to learn about, the racing itself, the horses, the trainers. You kind of get hooked on a name. So Artist from Above was one of my favorites, and that was in 2015. So I came back in 2016 for the Auglaize County Fairgrounds race also, and Artist from Above was there again. And I told my friend Brandon that I was there with, I said, hey, if Artist from Above wins this race, I'm sneaking into the winner's circle picture. And him and his dad and a couple of my friends are like, no, don't do that. You won't do it. So a couple of them are telling me not to do it, and a couple of them are daring me to do it. And sure enough, Artist from Above ended up winning that race. And I snuck down into the picture, and I actually have it here with me. I keep it in my basement, so I'm trying to keep the glare down. But you can see the tall, goofy guy back here in the back with his arm up. That's me. So I did end up sneaking into the picture. And so along with Artist from Above being my first favorite horse, my first favorite driver was actually Tyler Rush, who I'm having on the show tonight, which is super exciting. So again, it's kind of funny how things all come full circle here. And it's going to be cool to have Tyler on my show after, again, him getting to be one of my first favorite drivers. So a pretty cool picture and memento there. And Tim Ignarski and Jenny, I know you guys are watching too. And when I actually first introduced myself to the Ignarskis, I brought this picture with me and told them, hey, I'm the guy that snuck in the back. Don't punch my lights out. And they were laughing, and they're like, no, we want people to get into the winner's circle pictures. So pretty special moment. So again, if you're just joining us, our guest tonight is Tyler Rush. So I'm going to bring him on. We're going to talk about how he's been spending his winter so far. Probably a lot better ways than we're spending it here in Ohio with the cold weather, which is pretty cool. And we're going to talk about him working for the Brian Brown stable, which is pretty awesome. And Brian's watching right now. Thanks, Brian. And then we're also going to talk about what it's like after you have a bad drive. So what is the fallout from the trainer that put you up? What's the fallout with other drivers? Maybe if you made them upset. Kind of something I've always been wondering, but didn't want to ask and put drivers on the spot. But TR encouraged it, so we're going to go ahead and do that. So I'm going to try to bring on our guest here, Tyler Rush. So let me see if we can get it working. Might take a second here. Again, we're still ironing out some tech deals. There we go. So there's Tyler. Tyler, just adjust yourself on the screen, kind of like we were talking about. It has to, so it fits the split screen, and we'll be good. Tell me when you got in a comfortable spot for you, man.
We're good, I think.
You're all good? All right. Awesome, man. So
it's not very comfortable, but it's good. We can make it work.
Give me 1 second here. Let me see if I can get this working. Trying to get my headphones working as well, but they're not showing up. But can you hear me all good on your end?
I can hear you, Alice.
Perfect, man. Well, Tyler, thank you so much for coming on the show, man. So I was just talking about in the intro how it came to be that you were driving my first favorite horse, so that made you my first favorite driver. So I appreciate you coming on and taking some time out of your Wednesday night for me.
Well, I appreciate being a thought in your mind mainly, and I want to tell the guests why I got the sunglasses on. I got a habit of looking at the interviewer, so it's a little embarrassing. I'm wearing sunglasses in my house, but
Hey,
I feel better than looking down at you all the time.
whatever makes you comfortable, man. So I don't mind a bit. So I'm always looking down at the bottom of my screen as well, and looking at you. So that's fine with me. So the first thing I wanted to ask you is how are you spending your winter right now? So again, a lot of us Ohio people are probably pretty jealous. So let everybody in on what you're up to.
Well, hopefully we're getting a powerful bunch of babies ready to race in Florida. Um, it's been a cool winter here, so when I say 50 cool and right now kind of sprinkling, that's not very warm here. Something about Florida, I don't know if it's all the moisture in the air or what, but it's been chilly, but I really can't complain. It is better than the alternative, but it's not all cocktails and beaches, I can tell you that.
Well, hey, that's still good, man, to be down there training horses. And I want to ask you, how many years now have you been going down to Florida to help train?
5 in total. I think this is about the eighth in total, the 8th year, but I came 2 years and missed 2 years, and this is my 3rd year in a row again. So
Good.
7, 8 years or so in there.
Okay, good deal, man. Good deal. So hope everything's going well down there. And again, for a new harness racing fan, or even maybe some that are already existing fans, kind of let them know a little bit about yourself and where you come from, where you grew up, and then how you kind of got your start in the harness racing business at first.
I come from Kenton, Ohio. I'm going to touch on the WBL reference you made last week. You had Brady and from Defiance, and then you Walpock and me, Kenton.
That's right.
So we have a little connection there. I basically got my start because I didn't excel in college, and my grandma kind of introduced me to the horse business. But it's amazing the people tell me I have talent. I don't look at it that way, but it's amazing the talent I have for just kind of a fallback plan. But I'm pretty blessed to have landed where I did, and especially now that I'm with one of the best in the country and one of the best people.
Absolutely. So did you say you didn't really get around this until college time?
Late in life, my grandma bought a horse as a field pet riding horse, and that standard bred, and she just was too racy kind of in the field for even my younger nieces and nephews or cousins to get involved with. So they called a local trainer at Kenton and said, well, we can't get near her, so we might as well race her. And I kind of, got a little hint of it, but really it was just a whim. I still can't believe the success, minute success, but the success I've had from starting from there.
Yeah, that's pretty cool, especially since I'm 24 now and just kind of getting started with it too. So it's good to know, because a couple of our guests that we've had on already talked about, it seemed like from about the time they could really walk and stuff, they were around it, and it was all they really ever knew. So it's cool to talk to another late bloomer and stuff like yourself. So for you, at what point did you start driving the horses? Then you go from kind of being around them to actually being in control of them on a track.
Well, that happened quick too, and to me it happens too quick these days. I did start cleaning, well, for my grandma and uncle, that's what I did. I kind of was the quote-unquote hot walker. I just got to lead the horse after the race and cool it out and thought I was something special. I went to work for Mike Matters and clean stalls and learned the right way from a few very good people. But it happened quick. Year and a half, I was training some very nice horses that Mike had, and shortly after that qualified a couple for him. The horse had actually pasted 50 in his lifetime, and I got to qualify and bought it for cheap because he was making breaks. Meadowland Carter was the horse's name, and it just kind of wherever I'm at now, that's where it started, kind of training for Mike and Madeleine Carter for me.
Well, good deal. And for you, what can you A, remember from your very first drive, and B, what can you remember of your first win?
Well, Madeleine Carter, my first drive was a qualifier, and I remember, wow, this is way too easy. He was a nice horse. Nobody really knew why he made breaks, but I put him on the front and went 29 every quarter for a mile and 56 or whatever it was, and win the qualifier easy by like open lengths. And but my first pair of mutual drive for money, I also won. It was my grandma's horse. He had the one hole in the first race. My first pair of mutual drive, and he raced good and won too. So I said, "There's no way it's this easy from all the stories I've heard." But
and
sometimes we do make it look easy.
What track was that at, Tyler?
That was at Scioto Downs.
Okay, gotcha. So yeah, definitely finding some early success and stuff, and you win in your first pari-mutuel race. For you then, when did you start making that transition from just driving to adding in the training part too?
I, it's always kind of been both. I've always, took pride in getting up and how the horses are trained and handled, and so it's always been a mix of both. Maybe that's why I don't drive as much. I take a lot of pride in how the horse is treated on a daily basis, and if I'm involved, I'm going to try to do my best to give it everything I got. So I've always took a liking to the training and driving side. I think in a perfect world, I'd have 20 and drive them all and make a nice living.
Absolutely. So at what point then, we kind of mentioned it off the top, at what point did you start working for Brian Brown and helping him train then? What year was that?
The winter of 2010, I think it was. And then through my own failures, we've been on and off for that long. I always say I've been there longer than anybody, which is not untrue, but it hasn't been steady, and it's no one's fault but my own. But that's kind of, 10, 11 years starting in 2010.
Okay. And I mean, what is that experience like, getting to work for Brian, one of the top trainers, one of the top names in all of the country? What is that experience like?
I think we all take it for granted, for one. Probably some of the help does. I'm trying to be brutally honest this interview, but he's very good to work for, and I tell him that, so it's not like I'm kissing butt. But some of the help can I don't think they give him the respect he deserves, but he gives us tons of respect. There's nobody better to work for and be around, and it kind of spoils us though too, because if I would break away and get my 10 that I say I want 10 babies, I'm not starting with the horses I get a sip on. But I see a lot of horses, so even though they're better caliber, I'm getting more experience with what I see and changes that can be made. So when I start with cheaper, maybe less quality, I have a good feel for what it's going to take to get them right in the quickest amount of time.
Absolutely. So you talk about time. What is your daily schedule, for example, in Florida like? What time are you getting up, and then what are the steps to your day?
Well, this week, as everybody knows, because I'm not a morning bird, is my feed week. So I think I've told everybody. I live about 20 minutes from the track, and we try to start feeding at 5:30. So this week I'm getting up at 5, feeding. And then we're done way too soon, I always say. Everybody wants to rush to get done. I don't want to say bored, because my grandma always said if you're bored, there's work that can be done. But we get done around noon, tinker around, rake up, sweep up, whatever. And then it's basically free time. And it's not that I don't like it, but if we worked a little longer, it wouldn't matter to me, because we sit around and watch TV or whatever. So, but basically we put in a 7 to 12 or 1 o'clock day, and then it's basically, if it was warmer, like I said in the beginning, it would be beaches and cocktails, but it's just kind of short and sweet down here right now.
Absolutely. So I like it. And a little more. I wanted to poke around with your daily schedule and stuff. So again, you're up at 5 to feed, and you drive, get there around 5:30. What is it like for the horses that you personally get to work with? What do you do?
Um, I jog / train 10 or 11 a day. That's basically it. Brian gives us the luxury of sort of adding our 2 cents in our own area. We have 2 caretakers that we try to do the best we can for, and we basically are responsible for those 12 or 13, and then at the end of the day, if we got our work in with them, we try to help the caretakers the best we can. I'm not the world's best, but I do try to keep the area neat and make sure they're sound and taken care of. I like caring for a horse. I think I don't know, there's something special about it. So even though I'm not doing it, and I can be a very hard ass the way I come across, but I just think they deserve the time we give them.
Hey, absolutely, man. I agree with you. So, again, you talked about you're working with 10 to 11 horses and stuff a day. I wanted to ask you, you don't have to specifically name names or anything like that, but two of the top new sires that have their first crop, they'll be going to races this year, are Down by the Seaside and Fear the Dragon. So for you, how many of them are you getting to sit behind on a daily basis, and how are things working for both of those horses' foals?
Um, I'm a large majority Seaside right now, and what we can talk about a couple Indiana breds if you want. But between Seaside and Fear of the Dragon, the Seasides have done nothing wrong that's in my memory right now. They were a little funny gated. I don't want to say bad gated, just whatever. But now they pace smooth. They're big and strong. The Fear of the Dragons, I can't say anything. I was around two, a homebred of Brian's himself, and another little colt. Brian's big. He's a great big Fear of the Dragon. So, he might be a 3-year-old. He just kind of, does nothing more than what you ask. But there's another little Fear of the Dragon in my area that was a homebred of Harold Bowder from Delaware.
Okay.
And he is all go. I can't believe it. For the Dragon Again line, they tend to be kind of bulky and really don't want to do their work. This colt, if he even feels you move, he wants to pace out of the skin. So it's just one colt that I'm speaking of. It's not all of them, but the Seasides are better. But this Fear of the Dragon's going to hang right in there this summer too if he gets to stay sound.
Yeah, it'll be really cool this year in the 2021 season to see how they compete at all the levels of harness racing here in Ohio. So for you, I wanted to ask, do you have any favorite horses you've gotten to work with, and why are they your favorites? So this could be a horse maybe you're working with now, one in the past, just and you could name multiple if you have multiple, favorite horses you like to work with and why.
Let's see. Well, not many people know because my uncle was down as trainer. I didn't have my trainer's license yet. But Abs Attack, my grandma bought him. We stole him. A guy that taught me really well had him, and I don't know why he wanted rid of him. He didn't think he was much at all. And he said, call your grandma and see if she wants to buy this horse for a fair horse for you. $3,500, I think we paid for him. I think I said Abs Attack, I forget, but he was an Omni Attack. I was greener than grass, so Omni Attacks were known for being hot. Well, I didn't know what I was doing, so this was the laziest horse ever. And I think really that's what made him good, but I trained him is what I'm getting at. So I have to name him as a favorite. And it wasn't because I did anything special, but for whatever reason, it made me look good, quote unquote, even though I wasn't Bound's trainer. I drove him some, and grandma made 60, 70,000 with him, whatever it was, and had a decent exit on him at that time. That was 2010 or 11. Ohio wasn't the same program it is now, so I was blessed to get to work with that horse. So I won't I've worked with a lot of nice horses, mainly from being with Brian. But as an answer to your question, Abs Attack's got to be that horse.
That's pretty cool. So, cool story of how that all came about then. So for you, you're working with Brian now, getting to sit behind a lot of horses and stuff. Do you have future plans for a stable of your own, or where do things stand with that?
Um, I always say I want to. Well, I do want to, but it's tough. I'm a quiet person. You wouldn't know by this interview, but I think bringing 8 to 10 babies to Florida and getting those ready would be a perfect world. If I get to keep them or not, I really enjoy teaching the horse proper manners, and that happens right now. And that's sort of I kind of get up in the morning. That's even how I drive. We'll probably get into that later, but I love the foundation you set now. So for stable wise, 8 to 10 start in Florida, and go from there would be perfect for me.
Yeah, that kind of did lead into my next question for you is, what do you like most about the horses? So what is it you get to do with them, or how they act that keeps you coming back and keeps you interested in them?
I think the touch I put on them. I don't know. I think I put a nice touch on a horse. They usually have manners. You can race them any way they want or you want, and I don't know. I just enjoy it. If a horse is aggressive, maybe I'm laying in the back with a soft touch, teaching them to follow and finish. If a horse is lazy, I'm plenty capable of waking them up. So I don't know. I just like you're trying to teach the horse the all the assets that a good horse should have, and I enjoy doing it.
Good. That's pretty cool, man. So I'm enjoying getting to be around them and stuff too. And for me, I feel like it's their personalities that keep me coming back. They're all unique animals, and it seems like no two are the exact same. So I enjoy that part of it for sure too. So we talked a lot about your training experience and stuff like that. I want to get into the sport itself and some of the driving stuff that you get to do. So for you, for somebody that's new to harness racing or maybe hasn't been introduced to it yet, this is a very thrilling and also a very dangerous sport. So for you as a driver, you're being towed behind this horse going 30 miles an hour. And really the only thing keeping you from the ground is a tiny seat and two lines that you're hanging on to that are in the horse's mouth. So for you as a driver, just how dangerous and how thrilling is it for you to be sitting behind these horses?
I don't have a good answer. My favorite quote, and I forget what it's from, is "Pain don't hurt." So I've never been afraid of that. Um, Actually, a very early qualifier in my life, a horse went down on me, so I feel like I got broke in early, and then a few fair crashes. Tim Ignarski spoke about. He said I look like Raggedy Andy flying through the air. I'm so small, but it doesn't faze me. I went up to and race later that night, and everybody's tough, but I taking a header, I don't really think about it. So that's just and the thrill. I get thrills and chills from the downside, obviously, but that's one thing about me that I guess this is a good time to speak about. Just because I'm quiet and reserved, um, it doesn't mean I don't care. So there's thrills, but it's just kind of you go about your work, you do it. I don't smile when I win, and I don't pout when I lose. I try to be ice water, and I think when I'm trying to win, um, I think it benefits me.
Absolutely, man. So, you talked about that you've been in some accidents and stuff like that before. But yeah, that's one thing I can say for our sport that could be getting the word out to people more about just how thrilling and also it can be a dangerous sport at times too, and you're kind of living on the edge when you're watching these drivers out there. So another question for you on the driving side of things: would you rather drive a trotter or a pacer, and why?
I saw this question you sent me, and I liked it because I really don't have a preference on which, but I think there's no better feel than a good trotter. Now, I hate to use the word rat, but a ratty going, maybe gated trotter is no fun, and it costs everybody money. But a nice trotter that can go, go some speed, pretty steady. It to me, it doesn't even feel like the same animal. It's just there's a different feel on the bike, and you're floating, and you got something between your shafts when you have a nice trotter.
Absolutely.
So I guess preferred trotter, but not really. It's just a different feeling.
Yeah, absolutely. So another thing, again, a lot of these questions I'm kind of asking in this section are for people that are maybe newer to the sport or maybe don't even know about it yet and stuff. So they're kind of more basic questions. But in harness racing, there's a variety of track sizes. So pretty much all of the races are going a 1 mile distance, but sometimes they're on a half-mile track where you're making 2 laps, or it maybe is on a mile or 7/8 track where you're just making 1 lap to make up the mile, so to speak. So for you, do you have a favorite length track that you race on, or what do you prefer as a driver if it was up to you?
Well, I don't know. For some reason, I've never driven on a mile track. I don't know why yet. I'm kind of a close to home type of guy, but that would probably suit me or how I like to drive. But I really don't have a preference. The bigger tracks, I think, sometimes, the smaller tracks are harder on the horse. I think it's all speed. You kind of go till you can't. Kind of the thoroughbred mentality on a small track a lot of times. So for the horses, and since I already touched on how much I care about training, I definitely prefer a bigger track.
Absolutely. So talk about the bigger tracks. And then for you, you've been able to race on, in Ohio, we have 3 different tracks that are 5/8 of a mile in length. So we have Scioto Downs in Columbus, Dayton Raceway, and then also Miami Valley Raceway. So they're all 3 5/8 of a mile, the same length. But for you, are there any differences between those 3 tracks you notice? Maybe one carries more speed than the other. Maybe, what are the different characteristics of those 3 tracks, even though they're all the same length?
Scioto is much the fastest and probably has the best footing. Dayton and Miami, they're nice tracks, and the main thing is nice facilities. Scioto needs some of their facilities, and Dayton and Miami, we just can't seem to get the footing right. I suppose dead of winter.
Yeah.
Not a lot of traffic with no training, and mainly no passing lane, which touches on when you sent that. I just don't. I think it creates chaos. I think they did no passing lane for the competitiveness of racing, but I think it's malarkey. It just makes people do stuff they shouldn't be doing, and cowboys get a cowboy up. And I just don't think it's good. And it touches on another. Well, it don't have to do with the tracks. But a point of that I don't like is I don't think there should be second tier starters in harness racing, which would be the 10 hole at most tracks. I suppose it's better than the 9 hole, but not really, because if you want to send, you should have the right to send, not have someone else control your destination. I can't stand it. Passing lane at every track, and no second tier starters for Tyler.
Absolutely. Well, there we go. We just figured out Tyler's perfect track. So we'll put that in a suggestion box somewhere for you.
Let's do it.
Well, we talk about the parimutuel, the raceway, so to speak. I want to talk about some of the fairs because, again, that's kind of where you were getting your start. And for me, that was the first place I got to see you race. So for you, what is your favorite fair track to race at? And it can be because of the track itself and how good it is for being a fair track. It can be about the facility, how nice it is, or how unique it is. Or it can also be about the atmosphere that fair track brings. What are some of your favorite fairs?
I like most of the tracks in the Western Ohio are very safe. They're wide, kind of sweeping turn as much as you can have at a fair. Salina usually gets a good party when it's not COVID-21
right.
or COVID-19. Wapak has a good party. Greenville just turns out people. Everybody mentions it, but it turns out fans, and it's a nice fast track. So, I mean, I don't really have a preference, but you can tell when you go, the safer the better. And so Salina, Greenville, Lima, nobody trains there, so that would be probably the best fair track. But you got to keep horses and equipment on the track to keep condition. So it kind of falls lower these days. But Lima used to be something real special.
Yeah, that it sounded like a really cool track from people I heard that train there and stuff. It is a track that goes 8 wide, which is really cool for a fair track too. Right.
Yes, sir. I mean, it's hard to.
At least I think it went 8 wide.
It's 7 or 8. With the numbers at fairs now, we have to split so much and all that. I'm sure there's a few races, but we probably don't take advantage of the 8 wide. It's hard to get that many numbers, or you have too many where you're going 2 fields of 6. But yeah, Lima's should be a nice facility. It's just a shame these days I think we're in trouble, but people don't really care about horses, and I think that's probably across the business in a kind of a silent way from the supporters we need, I should say, not from the business, but as a whole, and governments and et cetera.
Yeah, and that's some stuff we may have later on in the show and stuff too here. So for you, want to talk more about your driving here. So these are some questions that I wanted to ask some drivers and stuff before, but again, I didn't really want to put them on the spot or maybe make the interview awkward. But you said, bring on the hard questions. I want the tough ones. So we're going to break those out here, Tyler. So my first question I had for you is, have you ever made a trainer mad after one of your drives? And if so, why did it happen? What happened on the track? And then for you, how do you move on from something like that after you had a bad experience or a bad drive for a trainer?
Well, I don't have a pot stirring answer. I wish I did, but I'm usually pretty good at making a trainer mad every start, and that's because I'm pretty laid back on how I handle a horse. I don't know if I'd call it conservative. Well, I am conservative. I don't know if I'd call it, unaggressive, but I'm just so, I don't know, the race comes at me very slow, and I just, patience is smooth and smooth is fast. So I don't know. I'm not antsy. I tend to race a horse, not as aggressive as they want, but I don't think it's from a not aggressive state of mind. I love to go fast, but most trainers wish I would have raced their horse harder, but I don't know. I know most of them say, you drive and I'll train them and they'll be ready again, but I can't assume that. So I race every horse like I got to come back and have it good again next week. And usually if I drive a horse, maybe not the first start, but after a few, I know I can win anytime I want to.
Absolutely. So moving on from trainers then, for you, have you ever made a fellow driver mad after one of your drives? And again, what happened in that scenario, or how do you handle something like that?
I'm sure, but not face to face, Matt. But I don't have a great, pot stirring answer for this either, but I give respect to everybody and on the track. And really, I expect the same, and I think I get the same. And again, with me being kind of laid back, just nothing's ever came up to say I've had a confrontation. I'm sure there's some bull crap in the locker room, so to speak, but that they're talking or whatever. But no, it's usually good. But I give 1,000%, but I do expect it somewhat. So if not, I'm not afraid to stand up for myself. But truly, really haven't had any problems.
Well, hey, man, I guess that is a good thing. So that's good. So the last of the toughie questions, so to speak, here for you at the racetrack, who are some of your fiercest competitors? So who are some of the guys you're going up against that are, super aggressive, and maybe sometimes they're not as likely to give you a break out there or maybe open up a hole for you?
I mean, everybody, there's some cowboys in Ohio, so I know when to test the waters is the best way to put it. you just kind of got to watch and know. Knowing the program helps some, but sometimes guys are just going to zing. I guess I don't want to name names, even though it's usually not a problem with me. But just there's Ohio's known for it, so I'm not breaking any news. But there's some guys that are going to zing. I'm not afraid to run at them if I have the right horse, but there's definitely enough people, too many, that that don't need to test the waters on them. They'll be coming back to you when the money's on the line about 3/4 full.
So I mean, what about Chris Page? He seems like a real tough cookie, right?
Yeah. That's all I can say.
I had
When he's the best, though, yeah, don't. He's a good driver because when he's the best, yeah, don't test the waters. But people using their thinking cap know that. So I'm not afraid to run at him, but I'm not afraid to think I'll get turned either because he reads the program and usually knows every horse in the race just like I do.
And Chris, if you're still watching, by the way, that was a joke. So I saw Chris was tuned in. He's giving you a couple comments here throughout the broadcast. So no, Chris, you're not really a tough cookie. I was just giving you a hard time. So a great driver, but I don't think you're one of maybe the cowboys that Tyler's referring to. Again, we'll have to read between the lines on who that might be, though. But yeah, moving.
It's boys. It's not cowboy. It's boys.
Cowboys, exactly. So, yeah. So we talked about those drivers, and now I kind of want people to get to know Tyler Rush away from the track. So my first question for you, you talked about earlier in the broadcast, you're getting up at 5 to drive 20 minutes to feed the horses in the morning. What is the drive, I guess, to there like as far as music goes, and then also during the season, you're driving to the track for a drive you have on the card. Are you jamming out? Are you chilling? Or how is your drive to the track?
It's pretty laid back, but I like music, or I might make a long phone call sometimes to grandma. I like to talk to grandma always. You never know, but I'm not set in a routine or real superstitious. I could have sports radio on, listening to a game, listening to just talk, or I could have anything on the radio from Nirvana to Taylor Swift, just as long as I can sing along. If I know the words, it's on my radio.
Well, there you go. So what are your sing-alongs? What are your karaoke songs, man? That's what I want people. I want people to know your music taste.
Everything. If I know the words, Eric Church, I can mimic pretty well, or I think my voice suits his voice. I could definitely karaoke that, but I like some Nickelback singing along there. Eminem definitely. Oh yeah, I'm known for rapping a few Eminem. Not known for, but I definitely rap a few Eminem songs as well.
We just got about 3 or 4 comments after the music question. So we got Tony Holler says definitely listens to Drop the World on the way into the barn every morning.
Yeah, Eminem, that's my song. I can rap right along with him now.
Drop the World. I think that's Lil Wayne, isn't it?
It's Eminem raps. Lil Wayne kind of sings slow a little bit at the beginning, but Eminem goes pretty hard the rest of the way through.
That's awesome. We also have Wendy Ross asking if you want to do carpool karaoke with her on the USTA YouTube page. So maybe you have an audition for that. I'll let you guys work that out when we end the show here, though.
That's right.
Oh God. So another question about being away from the track. Again, you're helping Brian train. It's a 365-day-a-year job. You're also trying to sprinkle drives in there when you can too. So when you do get an off night, or just like you talked about earlier, maybe you're done at noon for the day, what do you like to do?
Most people that know me know I like to go home and drink my water and eat a few vegetables, but sometimes we stretch it a little further. No, really, I'm a sports fanatic. Find a game to watch. I love to golf. I'm pretty good. I was I almost could have went to a small college in golf in high school. So I obviously still love the game. The horse business is about the worst way to get good at golf. It takes work, but I like to golf and really lay low. I'm the homebody of all homebodies. I'm not ashamed or what's the word? It's not a detriment to me to sit home, till bedtime after work either. I roll with the flow usually.
There you go. Well, cool. So another personal question and stuff for you. So I really like this, doing this show because it can make my guests, some of the people are watching this become fans of yours and stuff like that. And I feel like, after some of the episodes I've done with Chris Presley, Sean Barker, Tyler Smith, and stuff like that we've done, people leave and they're now a fan of that driver. So Tyler, for you, why should fans root for you as a driver out there on the track and make you one of their favorites? You got to kind of I know this isn't your style, but you almost have to pat yourself on the back.
I'm not patting my own back.
Try to find your good.
I guess from a business nature, if I'm not a popular driver. I'm probably not even considered really good. But we can cash some. I guess you get some betters rewards, so to speak, if you've heard of on the gambling side. You get some rewards if you hit on a horse I drive is one reason to be a fan. We might be $4 to $5 more value if you're betting me and we hit. So that's one reason. Number two, I'm very honest. So as a person, I would hope people would want to, after a race, sit down because I'm not going to bull crap on anything that happens.
Absolutely, man, and that's pretty cool. And even though, like I mentioned in the top of the show, you're one of my first favorite driver and stuff like that. But this is actually the first time we've actually gotten to talk. So I would agree as far as your honesty with things, and also, I'm a fan of the fact that if I'm a trainer and you drive my horse, I like the fact that you're going to bring him or her back to me, and they're still going to be, feeling good, and it's not going to be a lot of work throughout the week to try to get my horse ready again. So I can appreciate that about you also. So we'll go into our open question segment here, Tyler, if you're open to answering some fan questions quick.
Can't wait.
First, you're going to get a pretty good spread of them from Tim Ignarski, by the way. So Tim's first question that he has on here is, what is the best horse you have ever driven?
Boy, I drove some good ones just kind of on a whim or on a, needed. Trick question. I got to drive special forces for Brian Brown, and again, that's trying to show no, bias or kiss ass, but he brought him up to Toledo as a 3-year-old, and I basically had him in a triple Nelson hold at the wire, but I got the win with special forces who ended up staying in stud somewhere, and I think Iowa maybe, and a little 57 mile, but it's hard to say I've really driven better, but also you can count going on a race bike with some of Brian's good horses almost like driving. Now, we didn't get to win, but, training like a Lost for Words in the race bike a few times or some others, it's hard to really, for a lot of people, that's pretty good. So, yeah, horses like that.
That's pretty cool. So to get more specific with it, what is the best horse of Tim Ignarski's you've ever driven?
Well, right now it's Artist from Above, the your win picture. We had a lot of fun though. It's funny, but man, we went around and for what he gave for him and some of the dominance he showed around the fairs, and we had enough fun at Scioto when the time was right with that horse. So for Tim Ignarski, it's the Artist.
There we go, man. That's perfect. So I was showing it before we went on air. I got your picture here in the winner's circle from 2016 at the Auglaize County Fairgrounds here in Wapak, my hometown. So I actually snuck in the back of that picture on a dare from my friends. So that was the first time I got to meet Tim. I showed him this picture, and pretty cool moment. So we'll move on and keep asking some more questions here. So this question comes from Marty Marsh. I don't know if you know who.
I do know Marty.
Okay, she says, or is it a guy or a gal?
A Canadian gentleman.
I apologize. I couldn't see the picture. So he says, hey, TR, I hope to catch up with you live and in person during Jug Week 2021. He says, what's your favorite jug race of all time?
Man, there's been a lot of good ones. Probably Lifetime. I wasn't there. I was 5 years old, but the amount of times I've watched his first and second heat, boy, that was fun. Rogers in his prime, and the horse just wouldn't stop digging. Lifetime, 1993.
Absolutely. I might have to check that one out for myself here. So Tony Holler asked, who's your favorite coworker, past or present at the Brian Brown stable? And she says, why is it me?
She's a sweetheart. That's the only reason, really. She'll do anything for anybody, give you hugs and kisses and all that fun stuff. She's just a joy to be around.
We got a question here also from Todd Luther. He asked, what did you listen to heading to Urbana this year? Because you were ready to get it on.
Yeah, I'm not good at looking at the questions with this technology, but it follows into the second question. So go ahead and ask that. I guess, did you see the second one?
What's that? I'm still rolling through them and stuff here too.
Way up. Okay, well, I drove a horse for Todd. It was a real nice filly, and I was ready to rock because I knew, he usually has them ready to go anytime they show up, and it was a very nice filly. So I might have had some M&M on that day. But the filly was basically 1-9. The filly was 1-9. I got her on the front very easy, and then he follows up later with a guy deuce pops me at the 5/8, and I didn't do it intentionally, but they said I turned around and gave him a look that just had everybody rolling on the floor like, WTF are you doing out here, boy? And win by 10, but that's what he's referring to. We had some fun that day, me and Todd.
What horse was that on in that race?
Income or Expenses was the filly's name, a trotting filly that she was a sire state quality filly. Raced good in the Breeders' Championship at Delaware. So
No.
Deuce popped me on a fair track was just. I guess it was funny, nothing intentional, but it turned out to be a good laugh.
Absolutely. So we'll keep rolling through here. Let's see. Jennifer Brown says he's got some of the softest hands for a baby in the business. That's why we love our TR. What else do we got? She also asked, who's easier to work for, Brian or Jennifer?
Well, me and Jenny have had our quarrels, but I was women ultimately. They usually are the tougher breed, so Brian's definitely easier to work for, but it's not out of lack of respect for Jennifer, Jenny at all. It's just she definitely steers the ship in a way, and she probably is tougher. We've had our issues, but me and her, that is, she's a great lady, but that's where I'm coming from on that.
Awesome. And also we got one last question, it looks like here again from Tim Ignarski. He asked, what does the harness racing industry need to change in order for the sport to gain new fans?
Wow. We got to speed up the pace of the pace of play, I call it. Nope. Instant gratification. We probably won. I'm Tyler Rush. I'm not a big name, but we probably lost viewers in this short time. It's instant gratification. people are not, as far as horse gambling, horse watching, going to go sitting in the grandstand for 4.5, 5 hours a night. So I can't really, my mind's not in a place to really think about the ideas of how to draw them out or how to speed it up greatly. But I don't think, shortening post times would deter the betting dollars that highly. We just have to get people in and out. Baseball suffers. Football, everybody loves. They might sit there 3 hours, but we have to get people in and out of the stands. And I think our dollars would go up, but people don't want to buy into it. I've been preaching it for 3, 4 years. Not that I'm anybody, but it's one of my bigger stances in the sport.
Absolutely, and I can agree with that too. So getting the show on the road would definitely, I feel like, improve things also. So final question. This comes from me for the night. For someone like myself that's trying to make it into the business again, I want to be a trainer, an owner, and a driver somewhere in the future. What words of advice would you give to me or maybe somebody else that's in my situation also?
Well, I think you're already doing it from what I've gathered from, tidbits of the last interview and what you told me. Start from the bottom because it benefits you. People don't want to do it really. Lead them around eating grass. I saw you did it on Facebook. Lead them around eating grass. Learn how they feel. Clean stalls. Get them ready. Learn how their legs feel maybe after a training or jogging. How they feel in the morning before they go out. All that stuff. You can want to win 10,000 races driving, but all that stuff's going to benefit you going on as a trainer or driver. I think understanding the animal and how they respond as a caretaker is going to benefit you 1,000 times in training and driving. And that's why caretakers there's some, they get appreciation, but it's still, I almost feel like we need a caretaker listing, trainer, driver, caretaker. They just, if they're doing their job, it's 75, 80% of it, especially with a young horse where maybe you're not doing vet work, you're doing preventative maintenance, and then taking care of them after, going faster than they've ever went in their life. It could be 240, but, you got to get them overcoming the flaws that come out of, like I say, every step's faster than they've ever been, especially with a young horse.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for the advice on there, Tyler. So I appreciate it. And believe me, going to try to use it working for Tim. And he's a tough dude to impress, but I'm sure as hell going to try. So we did have a couple more fan questions come in. If you got time, Tyler, I won't keep you too long here. So Kyle Travser asked, what was your favorite thing about Raceway Park when you were driving there?
It was just good old boys is my favorite thing. It was sort of community-like. We only raced a couple of days. But the best thing I liked was good old boys, and we just, granted, we're all up there making money, and I'm sure plenty of people's lives depended on it. But it was just like you're out there, almost, I guess, having fun, which, racing should be fun, but it just didn't feel like work at all, even though I was driving an hour and a half from Kenton in a diesel truck I couldn't afford, but still, it was fun to go up. It wasn't work at all.
That's pretty cool. And the final, I promise this is the final fan question for tonight. So you drove a gelding for Tim Ignarski. That was a full of fun named Fun in the Halls. And we have been screwing around with him. He's kind of been, I guess, almost like Tim's mascot is what I always joke and call him. And he's kind of our barn pet, so to speak. But what can you remember about driving Fun in the Halls? I guess you did drive him a couple of times back in the day.
Well, I guess, because I started out maybe not more patient than I am now, but more conservative. I hated touching the horse with the whip, blah, blah. But if that horse did anything, he taught me to get a little aggressive with him. He didn't love going, but if you woke him up, he would he would pace, and probably still on his own time. But you know, from the 3/4 pole home, if you stirred him up, you were going a quarter. And sometimes you couldn't get close enough early, but old funny. You knew you were getting home some. If you had him waking up, you're going to have some fun whizzing by people.
Absolutely. He's a funny horse. So I definitely had to ask about your driving experience. And the way you described him is just about right. He really didn't wake up till the 3/4 pole and pretty much all the races I'd seen him in. So that's pretty funny. But cool. Tyler, I will let you go here, man. We ran probably even longer than I told you to expect. But I appreciate all your time here, buddy. And again, very, very nice getting to talk to you. And just very appreciative, man. I hope you enjoy Florida and hope I get to see you around this summer at the fair sometime.
Yes, sir. We'll be around. I appreciate you having me. Hopefully I didn't ruin your reputation.
No, man. My page just doubled in followers, I'm pretty sure, from this movie alone. So I appreciate it, buddy. You take care, Tyler, and thanks to everybody that tuned in and sent in your questions for Tyler as well. We'll see you all next week. Thanks, buddy.
Thanks, Austin.
See you, bud.